So let's get this straight. You want me to come to your YouTube auction and spend my hard-earned money on your stuff? Got some thoughts about that. Let's talk about it. YouTube, Vertical Stacker here, and some of you are probably thinking, I have lost my mind. What in the world am I making a video about YouTube auctions for? Well, no, I don't have any plans to host a YouTube auction. I just don't have any interest in doing so. I don't have the time, the energy, or frankly, probably the talent to do so. I will leave that to you. But as someone who's been in the stacking community for the better part of 2 years here on YouTube, and having gone into at least 13 unique auction sites, I do think I have some experience, and I do think I have the credibility to lend some advice to not only those who are hosting the auctions, but also the bidders, those who enter those auctions. Now, you can take all this with a grain of salt if you want, but I'm just sharing with you my experience, and for those of you who host auctions, I think you'll be interested in what I have to say. Just for a little bit of background on me, and you may or may not know, I have been known as a quote-unquote whale in the online auction community. I have spent upwards of $2,600 on one auction. I've spent $500 on a couple ounces of silver. I've spent $600 on a piece of pot metal. So, you know, I think, have some credibility coming from a bidding perspective to help you folks who are hosting auctions understand a little bit about the mentality of the bidder. Now, I think some of you already know, you've done your research, you have enough experience that probably nothing I share with you today is going to make one iota of difference. But, you know, for those of you who are bidding in these auctions, you know, maybe this will kind of relate a little bit to your experience and might give you some insights and some thoughts as to where you want to frequent and spend your money. Now, I am not going to plug any particular auction site in this video. That's not what I'm about. I just want to give out the information from my perspective and then let you folks decide what you want to do. I do appreciate your feedback. I think I have proven over the years that I do everything I can to communicate effectively with you folks who leave comments. So please leave a comment. What have your experiences been in these online auctions? The good, the bad, the ugly. We don't need to call anybody out, and that's not, again, what this video is about. This video is just about this community and things that, in my view, the online YouTube auctions can do to make sure they get those bidders bidding in their auctions, because that, at the end of the day, is the goal, right? And of course, for us as the bidders, we want to make sure that, you know, we're getting not only value for the things that we're bidding on, but that we're having a good time while we're doing so. So, without further ado, a couple of thoughts. First of all, for you who host the online auctions, you've got to know your audience. That is the first thing that I would really emphasize, is you have to know your audience. You know already that you have those who are going to enter your streams that are going to be the trolls, those who will just bid things up and be silly about it or obnoxious about it, and you have your mods there to hopefully control that situation. But you know, you need to learn who your audience is. What are the demographics? Now, you don't necessarily have to come out and ask them, right? But just by interacting with them, I can't tell you how much I enjoy interacting with the auction hosts. Now, I will tell you also that for the most part, I've retired from online auctions, so you don't need to try to use these on me anymore, because I most likely won't be winning anything. I might bid from time to time, but I won't be winning anything on your auction. But that said, for those of you who know me and know that I've spent a lot of money on these YouTube auctions over the years, I hope you'll take to heart what I'm saying about knowing your audience, because the more you interact with them, the more likely it is that they're going to A, stick around, B, be nice to you as the auction host, and C, be willing to spend their money. Now, you also know, as the auction host, that there are those who will never spend a dime at your auctions, but they are there nevertheless, auction after auction, time after time, supporting your channel and supporting your auction. Which takes me to point number 2, and that is, you have to recognize those people who are supporting you faithfully, not just with their pocketbook, but with their time. That watch time that's so valuable to a lot of you folks who are, counting the hours in your watch hours and things like that. You have to acknowledge those folks in your streams. If I come into your stream, and I'm just going to tell you this from my perspective, and you can take it as I'm just this arrogant jerk, or I'm not being reasonable or whatever, but if you know me, and you know that I'm a person who spends a lot of money in these online auctions, and you see my name pop up on your screen in the chat, and you don't acknowledge me in that first 60 seconds, I'm probably not going to hang around very long. Truth be told, I don't feel important. I don't think I deserve to be treated this way. I feel like because of my ego, or whatever you want to call it, I feel like because of what I have done for your auction over the years, or because of what I have done in giving you, watch hours, etc., I deserve to be recognized. So keep in mind, that goes to anyone who bids on your auctions or who supports you with their time, right? Your mods, or those who come in and are there faithfully all the time, just making comments and having a good time generally. You folks who are hosting these auctions have to recognize those who are supporting you. And I get it. It's hard because sometimes that chat is moving fast. But you've got to recognize your whales. You have got to recognize your whales. You have to make them feel important. You are taking their money. They are bidding way more than the stuff is worth. You know that. We know that. But we're doing it because we enjoy the atmosphere. We enjoy, to a certain extent, the ego trip. We enjoy the challenge. We enjoy the head-to-head combat, right? So, auction hosts, please recognize your audience and make sure that you call them out by name. Hey, so-and-so, it's so good to see you here. I am glad you're here. And hey, you're going to want to stick around and see this that I've got later on, or whatever. Or hey, so-and-so, I sure appreciate you coming in here. You are always here every time I have an auction, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Then maybe, after the fact, send them an email thanking them. Or every once in a while, send them a free silver quarter. A little bit can go a long ways. And you folks, I know you're going to say your margins are small and this, that, and the other, and your time, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But, we're the ones, right? The bidders are the ones that are feeding you. We're the ones that are making you successful. Without us, you have nothing. Literally, you have nothing but a bunch of gold and silver sitting on your desk that you now would have to get rid of in some other way, which, by the way, would likely not be nearly as profitable as what you're doing on these online auctions. Again, you know this. Okay, so know your audience. That is super important. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to discuss is, what do you do? You have a whale in your chat, or you might have two whales in your chat. They're battling it out, and they're bidding on an ounce or two of silver, or on a commemorative set, or whatever it is. That set's worth $9. Or those 2 ounces of silver are worth $58 or whatever, and the bid goes up to $175. And you give them the song and dance of, oh, I sure appreciate it. Wow, that's really awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then you send them exactly what they won and nothing more other than a little thank you note or something like that. That's all good. And I get it that oftentimes that's going to be the case. But, if you sell, what is this, a 20 gram? If you sell a 20 gram Perth Mint gold bar on an auction, and you get $2,000 for that, and you're not sending the person that won that a free ounce of silver or something, that whale is not going to be around for very long. I can guarantee you that. That whale will get tired of swimming in your sea and will move on to greener pastures. I've done that. I have spent way, way, way more money than I ever wanted to in certain auctions on certain pieces, and I would do it again and again and again, and the only thing I would receive was the exact thing that I bid on. Now, look, I get it. A contract is a contract. That's what I bid on. That's what I receive. If that's the way you want to play it, auction hosts, that's fine. You do so at your own risk of losing the whales or others who might be whales in training, right? Don't be afraid to send some free stuff once in a while. I really think a little bit would go a long ways. You're free to disagree with me, but I think, again, you do so at your own risk, and that's from my perspective of someone, again, who's bid thousands of dollars on auctions over the last couple of years in your auctions, folks. You, the ones who are watching this video. I have been there. I have most likely bought something from your auction. Okay, the final point I want to make is, well, not the final point, but just to follow up, don't be too stingy, right? Don't be too stingy. Make sure people know that they're appreciated, not just in the chat, not just in the way you talk out loud and recognize them in the live stream, but then also after the fact, if they've paid you double, triple the price of what something is worth, recognize that privately. Throw them a bone, right? Throw them a free silver quarter or something like that. I promise you, I think that's going to be one of the greatest things you can do to set that hook and keep us coming back into your auctions is to make sure that we feel like we're treated well. Look, we already know we're overpaying. We already know that we're just entitled to what we've bid on. But when you go that extra mile and you give us just a little bit more, man, it makes us feel good, right? It's like that shot of dopamine. You open that package up and you look at it and you're thinking, well, I was just looking for that, slabbed Morgan dollar, and lo and behold, not only did I get that Morgan dollar, but I got a slabbed, silver quarter as well. How cool is that? So do those kind of things. Those little extras will go a long ways. All right, finally, you guys are holding these auctions at your own risk. I know many of you will take this with a grain of salt, and that's okay. They're your auctions. You run them how you want to. But a couple of turnoffs that really, really bother me, is when you don't trust your audience to do the right thing. If you put this up for auction, you've got 80 people in your auction, 30 people in your auction, whatever, and you put up a starting bid of, say, $250. Honestly, to me, that is such a turnoff. I would just say, here is this, what is it, $5 gold piece, $2.50 gold piece. You guys know what this is, right? You know what this is. It's beautiful. I'm not a numismatic guy. I don't know what the condition is, but you can see it right here. It's an 1851, blah, blah, blah. Bid as you wish. Once it gets up to $100, the increments go at $5 at a time, whatever. But when you set reserve bids, to me, that is such a turn off. Know your audience. I'm going to bid more than $100 on this. You know that, right? You know that is not going to go for less than what the value of it really is. It's just not. Same thing with this, same thing with this, same thing with this. You put these things up for an auction in our community, you're going to make money. But if you put a reserve on it, to me, I'm almost never going to bid. Almost never. Because it's my personal beef. It ticks me off. I'm sure others are fine with it. But to me, it's just like, well, I just want to make sure I get my due out of this. Well, duh. I mean, you're going to get it. We've been supporting you for years. What are you afraid of, right? Okay. And then the other thing that is kind of a stick in my craw, so to speak, is when you, as the host, complain that the price of the auction, whatever the bid is currently, is less than what you supposedly paid for the piece. That's tough. I mean, that's what an auction is all about. But I don't want to hear you whining about how you paid so much more for this piece than what the current bid is. Oh, I'm losing money on this one. Whatever. Then don't auction it. If you put up a turd for auction, then it's a turd, right? You can't complain that nobody wants to bid on a turd. But you put good stuff up to auction, people are going to bid on it. Put a turd up there, you can complain about what you paid for, but that's just a different turd out of the same bowl. All right, rant off. Love this community, guys. Appreciate you online auction holders. You do what I can't do because I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend the time to do it. It's not worth it to me. But I enjoy and have enjoyed supporting you over the last couple of years. Now, take my advice. Don't take my advice. Do what you do. But trust me when I tell you that whales will get very tired very fast if A, they're not recognized, B, they're not rewarded, and C, they don't feel like you care. So make sure you know your audience. Make sure you recognize those people. Whales, non-whales, supporters, Johnny-come-latelys, whatever. Just support everyone that comes into that chat, unless they're a stinking troll. Then you just drop an anvil on their head, whatever you got to do. Vertical Stacker, that's my story about online YouTube auctions, and I'm sticking to it. Till next time, take care.